Hi there, I'm Aspiring Spike. Today we have Sultai Midrange in Pioneer. This is something I've been tuning and working on all week, and I'm very excited to show it off today. When I first read about Pioneer, the cards I immediately wanted to play were Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, and Abrupt Decay. These three cards feel like the best interactive spells in the format. Abrupt Decay specifically seems like a card that you want to be finding reasons to play. Abrupt Decay is so good against Oko, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Teferi Time Raveler, Smuggler's Copter, Heart of Kirin. Lots of the problem cards in the format. And of course, Thoughtseize and Fatal Push are premier one-mana interactive spells that just don't exist in Pioneer outside of these two cards. Like, we don't have Lightning Bolt, we don't have Path to Exile, so black becomes the premier color to interact with. So let me pause the recording. Athena, I think, is asking to go outside. So once you figure out you want to be playing these 12 cards, you have to ask yourself, in what shell would I like to play these 12 cards? And I think that Abrupt Decay, Thoughtseize, and Fatal Push historically lend themselves best to a Green-Black X rock-style strategy, very similar to how we see these same cards in Modern Jund. And when you figure that out, you have to ask yourself, would I like to be playing straight black-green? Would I like to be playing Jund? Would I like to be playing Abzan? Or would I like to be playing Sultai? And I think that Jace Vryn's Prodigy and Oko Thief of Crowns are the best 2 and 3 mana threats, respectively, in Pioneer. Just on raw power level alone, they both demand to be answered, otherwise they take over the game. And just like we see in Modern, you can go Thoughtseize into Dark Confidant into Liliana. In this deck, you can go Thoughtseize into Jace Vryn's Prodigy into Oko. Similarly, Dig Through Time is an unbalanced Magic card. This is something that's banned in every format it's been legal in, and it's something I expect to be, if not broken, extremely competitive, and I want to be finding reasons to play Dig Through Time and not excuses not to. So I've been really happy with Sultai, and I think it's going to be better than Black-Green, Jund, or Abzan. And to sort of fill out the rest of the shell, we have Scavenging Ooze, which is, I think, the second best 2-mana threat besides Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I think it's better than Grimflayer, and I think that we don't want any more than 7 2-mana threats. This card's been phenomenal, really good when you're playing lots of removal spells to fill up your opponent's graveyard. Courser of Kruphix is something that we're playing over Tireless Tracker. I get asked a lot, why aren't we playing Tireless Tracker? And the answer is we can only play so many 3-mana threats. We're already playing 4 Okos. And so the decision at that point becomes, do we play Tireless Tracker or do we play Courser of Kruphix? And I really liked Courser of Kruphix. Not only do I think it's well positioned against all the mono red decks that are floating around, the 2/4 body on Courser of Kruphix lines up really, really nicely when you're turning a lot of your opponent's creatures into Elks. I really, really liked Courser of Kruphix in this deck. Similarly, Cletus is very good against all the mono red decks, very good against like Hardened Scales and their Hangerback Walkers, and it's a 3/4, so when you're turning all your opponent's creatures into Elks, Kalitas is just a 3/4 to block their 3/3s, and it's actually way more important than it sounds. We're playing 1 Hero's Downfall and 1 Assassin's Trophy. While I do think I want like 2 of these like more narrow removal spells that you can dig through time into, I'm not sure 100% on the numbers. I do think I like Hero's Downfall more than Murderous Rider. That's something else I get asked a lot. Hero's Downfall can be flashback with Jace. It actually goes to the graveyard instead of exile for Dig Through Time. You don't lose 2 life when you cast it, which is certainly relevant with a bunch of Shocklands and Thoughtseizes. And I don't think the 2/3 body on Murderous Rider is very good in a deck with Oko that's turning your opponent's creatures into 3/3s pretty often. So I've been pretty happy with Hero's Downfall instead of Murderous Rider. And we're playing 1 Assassin's Trophy. This is something else people have asked me about, saying, isn't Assassin's Trophy better than Abrupt Decay? And I think the answer is no. You see in Standard, people just don't play this card that often. It does see play, and we are playing it here today, but you really can't afford to cast it very often in the first couple turns of the game, ramping your opponent when they have very powerful 3 and 4 mana spells, when they have Dig Through Times, is a big liability. I like to have like 1 copy to Dig Through Time into as sort of a catch-all answer. And I could see playing the second trophy over the first Hero's Downfall, but I'm not super duper high on trophy in this format. And also, when I first started playing this deck. I had 4 Drown in the Loch. I just wanted to see how well positioned this card was in the format. I like this card a lot in Modern, in Grixis Control, but in that deck you have Lightning Bolts and Thoughtseize to cheaply 1-for-1 your opponent, and you have Thought Scour to power up your Drown in the Lochs. However, I did think that Drown in the Loch was quite good. I really like to be able to dig through time into a counterspell. I thought that was a super powerful thing to do in the late game. And in the early game, with your Fatal Pushes and your Thoughtseizes and your Abrupt Decays, you are filling up your opponent's graveyards, and I haven't had a problem really casting Drown in the Loch. I think that I wouldn't play more than 2, but I think the first 2 have a really high ceiling, and I think the floor is still high enough that it is good to have them. And I hope that you can kind of see their power level today. And so I ended up toying, so I had 4 Drown in the Lochs in my first draft, and I tried a few different things in those other 2 slots. I tried Thought Erasure, which I actually found to be maybe too low power level for this format. It is much worse than Thoughtseize. We already have 4 Thoughtseizes, and once you go up to 6 discard spells, your top decks in the late game get way worse. I did like that Thought Erasure helped fuel Dig Through Time a little bit with the Surveil. But I cut those, and I toyed around with Grim Flayers, and I was honestly kind of unimpressed with the 2/2 body. That was more often than not a 2/2, and that lined up really badly against the Elks. So we're just playing 2 Ops instead. And I've actually liked the 2 Ops a lot. They make Dig Through Time and Jace a little bit better. They're actually kind of nice with Corsair Crewfix because you see what's on the top, and you'll know if you want to scry them away. I think the 2 Ops look maybe a little weird, but they've smoothed things over quite well. And the mana base is pretty boring, to be honest. The only exciting thing is we're playing Fabled Passage because it's good with Corsair Crewfix and Fatal Push. I think 3 is correct. I could see 4 being correct. Not 100% sure. I think that because we're playing Fabled Passage, we can't afford to play any man lands, but again, not 100% on that. I think time will tell. So let's move on to the sideboard and then jump into some games. Sideboards in Pioneer are going to be a little hard to figure out until the format shakes up, but I like what we have in the sideboard as a start. We have Veil of Summer for, of course, the Thoughtseize and Abrupt Decay and Counterspell decks. Very powerful cards these play in all formats. Pithing Needle to hedge against Aetherworks Marvel and Saheeli Rai combo, mainly. Could come in other spots as well. Noxus Grasp as more ways to kill Okos, Teferis, various Collected Company creature decks. I kind of want a third one, but I'm not sure 100% yet. Narset is quickly becoming the best sideboard card just because people are trying to do a lot of stuff with Jeskai Ascendancy and Arclight Phoenix, and this card completely shuts those decks down, and it's also good against control, so I like having 3 in the sideboard. Mystical Dispute, another color hoser card, very good against the control decks and the Oko Teferi decks, and Disdainful Strokes to answer a lot of things that maybe we'd have trouble answering with Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay, just spells that cost 4 or more. Good against blue-white control, good against Aetherworks Marvel, good against ramp decks. I've liked having 3 strokes on the board. So let's call it a deck tech and go to a league. See you there. Die roll. We're on the draw for the first match of the game. I'm going to keep this hand, although I'm pretty unexcited by it. We have no interaction. We just have 2 redundant copies of threats that it's usually just best to draw 1 of each of these, but I think that this is still a keep, although it's certainly on the lower side of keepable hands. We're going to play Woodland Cemetery first, and then we can play Island, and then our Drowned Catacomb will come into play untapped. Also drew a Drown in the Loch, which is worse when you haven't drawn other interactive spells. Would hope to dodge a Curious Obsession here. Did not dodge a Curious Obsession. This is a matchup that I've liked. 4 Abrupt Decay pull a lot of work when your opponent's trying to put Curious Obsession on their creatures. That being said, we have no removal spells save for this Drowned Loch, and we're certainly seeing the floor on this card right now. This hand was certainly a bit of a liability. I'm going to go ahead and attack with my my ooze. If they flash in like a Merfolk Trickster and they want to trade, that actually will work out really well because that'll turn on our Drown in the Lock. They did not make that play. We'll see if a Corsair Crew Fix resolves. It's going to be really hard to win when our opponent's drawing 2 cards a turn. Although our Corsair did resolve here. We have an Oko on top. While Oko is quite good, I don't think it's really going to help us very much in this situation. They may like Brazen Borrower, bounce Corsair here or something like that. And then Brazen Borrower will go to exile. So they did have a Merfolk Trickster. They get to evolve their Cloudfin Raptor. They're going to hit for a little bit more here. If they just don't have counter spells, it's possible we just beat them because due to the fact that our creatures are so much more powerful than theirs. They could like tap out for Master Waves here. Ooh, Thassa in its own line. I guess we're going to turn Thassa into an Elk, or at least that would be the plan. There's a removal spell on top. Certainly need to turn Thassa into an Elk. Hopefully this doesn't get spell pierced. Stubborn Denial. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pack it up and head to game 2. And certainly not a very good hand that we kept. And then if we had drawn any other interactive spell, things would have been much better. That being said, I do like this matchup. I think we've got a good shot for games 2 and 3. I do like to bring in Mystical Disputes. I do like to bring in Veil of Summers. I'm actually kind of low on Thoughtseize in this matchup. Thoughtseize is like an inherently tempo negative card in a matchup that relies completely on tempo, and it's a bad top deck. I think this matchup does come down to top decking pretty often. It's not the worst card. Thoughtseize is something I do board out from time to time, but would certainly be fine if we didn't have other better things to bring in. But I do like the way the rest of my deck is positioned against theirs, and with that, let's go to game 2. Okay. Going into game 2, another sort of awkward hand that we have. I would like to keep this hand if we had another land, maybe not another basic forest. This hand looks much better to me. I think we're going to put back the Fabled Passage. You could put back the second Jace, since it's very, very unlikely they can remove the first one. Let me think about that. They could have Mystic Rebuttal, so let's go just put back the Fabled Passage. Looks like our opponent is taking a mulligan as well. They've gone to at least 6. And play a Watery Grave tapped and pass. So we'll see if they have Mystic Rebuttal. If they do, then we can play Jace with Veil of Summer up next turn. Or Mystic Dispute. I can't remember what Mystic Rebuttal does, so I'm glad that we kept the second Jace. We figured out why we would want to keep the other one and got rewarded for it. So that always feels nice. Yeah, I will play the second Jace with Veil up. They do not have Veil of Summer. And next turn we can Oko, still with Veil of Summer up. May get Merfolk Trickstered here. We do. Not going to Veil of Summer to just untap our Jace, basically. Alright, well, kind of funny that we haven't found, we have 4 Abrupt Decay, 4 Fatal Push, an Assassin's Trophy, and a Downfall. We haven't seen any of those in games 1 or 2 so far. We're still certainly in this game. Let's go ahead and loot with Jace. Okay, there's a Fatal Push. I'm going to discard a second copy of Jace. Let's go ahead and Fatal Push now, see if we need to Veil of Summer. We don't. And if our opponent didn't have counterspell for the Jace last turn, yeah, I thought there was a pretty high chance that Oko resolves. And Oko is actually so good in this matchup just to steal creatures, assuming they don't have another Merfolk Trickster here. Looks like they do. But they can't really pressure its loyalty super meaningfully. You know, we're going to make this food into an elk and then block the Trickster down the line. But you do get to steal things pretty often, in my experience, with Oko. They may have like a Master of Waves here. They have a Thassa. So we'll certainly need to be mindful of Thassa coming online here. We can't, I guess, I mean, we could cast Veil of Summer and then flip Jace, but that seems a little spewy to me. So let's just tap Jace to loot. Can't cast this Hero's Downfall right now, so I'm just going to Scavenging Ooze. And then turn the food into an elk and pass. Now, it is pretty likely our opponent turns on their Thassa next turn. So we'll have to think about how we would like to, you know, block. Are we okay losing our Oko? Do we just want to chump block with the food token? Opponent puts a card on top of their library. Miss Harbinger of the Tides. I think that we're gonna... This is the May ability. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and Veil of Summer so they can't bounce our Jace. I imagine this is the card that they topped. Drew a Watery Grave, which is our second black source. They have another spell, it looks like. Oh, they're going to make Thassa unblockable, so we don't get the option of chump blocking, which makes sense. So, Oko down. Gonna loot with Jace. And let's discard Watery Grave since we want more green sources for Ooze. And then we can Fatal Push either one of these Merfolk, doesn't matter very much. Stubborn Denial. Oh no. If we could have played around this if we had played our Overgrown Tomb first. Then we could have Abrupt Decayed a creature, and then our opponent, we could have paid, they wouldn't have had a ferocious creature to turn on their Stubborn Denial, but we got punished. Hopefully we can still win this game. But I am going to get aggressive here. I think it's pretty likely our opponent turns on Thassa, but with 1, 2, 3 more creatures in the yard, I think that it's possible we race with Ooze. Not if they find another Harbinger of the Tides, of course. This does also sacrifice our Jace. It would have been much better to shock with that Overgrown Tomb. They would have we would keep our Jace. They wouldn't have this Harbinger of the Tides. So, certainly a mistake. Courser's not a bad one. We'll play that. And then we hit a green source. There's a Fatal Push on top. That's going to be good. Going to exile their Merfolk Trickster. And then exile one of the 3 Jace Friends Prodigies in the yard. And attack for 8. They could have a... I guess if they had a Harbinger, they would have played it on their turn. So our opponent bottomed their Scry. They probably hit something unrelevant. Maybe another Stubborn Denial. Oh, whoops. Stubborn Denial, Spell Pierce, or just an island. And now with Fatal Push on top, it's going to be very difficult for them to turn on Thassa. Yeah. So they agree. We're going to go to game number 3. See you there. Oh, I guess one thing I forgot to mention is I only like 2 Veil of Summers in this matchup. Like, they're not as in on counter spells as other blue decks are. They probably play like maybe 8 copies, so I don't want to be overloaded on Veil of Summer. This is a hand. Abrupt Decay is, I think, our best card in the matchup. We also have a Mystical Dispute, which is really good. If we hit any blue land, then Jace Friends Prodigy is gonna like draw us out of our mana screw. And if we hit just a non-blue land, then we have 2 decays and a trophy to buy us time. Our opponent kept 7. I think being on the draw, since we are favored to hit a land, I think that we are supposed to keep this. And maybe it won't work out, but that's certainly the risk that we're taking here. I think this is a risk I'm happy to take. Notably, Abrupt Decay can stop Siren Stormtamer from countering an ability. Alright, so we hit a non-blue land. We'll go ahead and shock and pass. And, you know, we have 3 spells to play. You know, so we have a few turns to find a blue land here. I'm going to wait and see if they play like a Tempest Djinn or something like that before I decay the Siren Stormtamer. And then they didn't, so we'll just decay the Siren Stormtamer end of turn. See if we spike a blue land off the top. No, I will play an Ooze, I think. I think it's good to use your mana when you're mana screwed like this. If we can just trade 1 for 1 in any way, then I think that's something that favors us being on the draw and having a ton of spells in hand. And also if it resolves, it's going to be not bad with 2 more removal spells. Looks like they have a flash threat. They do in Brazen Borrower. They decide to cast the Borrower instead of bouncing the Ooze to our hand, which is a little weird after we've missed a land drop. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it probably doesn't bode well for us. So I almost think that that means that they have the tap Merfolk here, but I will attack anyways. We drew another non-blue source, which is kind of a bummer. This is certainly going to happen in Pioneer, where you don't have fetches to make your mana perfect. I have found the mana to be fine. We also, you know, kept a risky hand. They have Merfolk Trickster instead of the other one, which would have been better. The one that returns a tapped creature, and you spend 4 mana to flash it in. Can't remember the name off the hand, but they did play it last game. So they're firing up Mutavaults. I'm going to Abrupt Decay Brazen Borrower here. They can cast Dive Down if they have it, but they can't counter it with a conventional counterspell. That's a good one to find, of course. Let's pump the brakes, play a Jace. Not so upset if one of their last 3 cards counters this Jace. Scavenging Ooze is holding the fort down pretty well. If they counter the Jace, we get to eat it with Ooze. Turn Ooze into a 5/5. We have another Jace. They use their Mystical Dispute, which is fine. We also do have Assassin's Trophy up if that's something that we're interested in, but I can't really see myself casting that this turn. Alright, so we'll eat the Brazen Borrower, and we will eat the Jace. Alright, so we will just play out a second Jace, playing our Woodland Cemetery to potentially pay for a second Mystical Dispute. Gonna still leave the Ooze back on defense. I'm liking the spot now. I'm liking my spot now a lot. Opponent only has 3 cards in hand. We're about to have an active Jace Friend's Prodigy. It seems they're flooding out a little bit. Sort of conventional wisdom, if you've been playing Magic for a long time. Mana Screw, which is what we were Mana Screwed. Beats Mana Flood, which they are. I'm going to discard the Mystical Dispute since they have so much mana they'll be able to pay for whatever, basically. And we can cast a Dig Through Time end of turn if we so desire. Going to try to maybe play the long game a little bit here. They play out a Cloudfin Raptor, which is not the most frightening thing, and looks like they conceded. They saw where this was going. So we're 1-0, got a little lucky maybe there in game 3, but I think when a hand has like such a high upside like that one did, if we find any land, we have a pretty functional hand. I think you're supposed to keep that, especially in a format like this, which seems very resource based rather than a format like Modern where you're trying to maybe mulligan into a nut draw. So that was game 1. We'll be back for round number 2. Alright, so we're on the draw for the second match of the day. I am going to go ahead and shock Watery Grave, even against what is very likely an aggressive deck here. I think that, you know, Sacred Foundry means there's a pretty high chance we get to Fatal Push something, and if we don't get to Fatal Push something, it's kind of likely maybe our life total just doesn't necessarily matter as much. Looks like we're playing against a Jeskai midrange deck. I will say that these midrange matchups, or sorry, these control decks, are favored against us game 1 just because we have so many Fatal Pushes in my experience, but I think games 2 and 3, it does get better for us. Alright, looks like we're just replaying Jace. Would have kind of liked to play Courser, be able to pressure to Fairy, could, you know, spike a land the turn after if it lives, but we don't have double green. Oh, so this is Jeskai Saheeli. Interesting. The Saheeli decks have looked very good to me so far. I've been pretty impressed by them. But we can decay the Saheeli, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and loot with Jace. We had a second Jace. What did our opponent do with Saheeli? They put a card on the bottom. Honestly, like, playing Abrupt Decay on Saheeli seems like such a low impact play for this turn. I almost just want to play Kalidas and hope they just don't have it. I think they were behind enough on tempo that I am going to do this play. I think that if we just Abrupt Decay the Saheeli, we're going to fall too far behind. If they have it, they have it. But I think that we're more likely to win this game. Like, if they do have Feldar Guardian, then they get to, like, bounce their Teferi, bounce our Jace, and then we can't win that game either. So, might as well try to win the game we can win. The game where they don't have Feldar Guardian. They played the Silver Falls, and we got very lucky, and they didn't have the Guardian. But sometimes you have to play to those outs, you know? I'm going to attack Teferi Time Raveler with Kalidas. I don't expect this to work, but who knows? Well, you know, looks like they want to cast a spell, but then they just didn't. So let's loot with Jace. I would like to hit another green source so we can Courser and just hold up Decay for this. That is another green source. I'm going to discard the push because I want this second island for second blue source for dig through time. So I'm going to cast Courser of Crewfix. Really? And then there's a green source on top. Wonderful. Okay. Keep in mind we only have one basic island in the deck, so we can't search for one if we wanted to. So now that Teferi Time Raveler is gone, we don't need to Abrupt Decay Saheeli main phase or anything. I'm really confused as to what our opponent could have here. You know, they've been scrying with this content Saheeli. They're likely to have a spell. A dig through time makes sense. So it's very likely that they find Feldar Guardian now, but we can just Abrupt Decay the Saheeli, and we don't need to worry about them being able to counter the Abrupt Decay, because you can't counter Abrupt Decay unless you have Veil of Summer or Dive Down. Summary Dismissal, Spell Quality. There's a lot of cards in the format that counter Abrupt Decay. Cannot believe that Kalidas hit worked. They put a card on the bottom. I imagine they're going to cast a Guardian here. Supreme Verdict. Okay, no response to that. Decay the Sahili. Kind of would have been nice to decay the Escanta, but maybe we can dig into another decay here. I think that I will just go ahead and cast a Dig Through Time. With the mana they're representing, there really isn't much main board that could counter this, and we certainly want to resolve it. And maybe we hit like Decay plus Ooze, so we'll want the full mana. I think Decay plus Thoughtseize makes a lot of sense here. That's going to put 2 cards in our graveyard for our other Dig Through Time. It's going to maybe stop them from killing us with Sahili plus Feldar Guardian, and we get to decay the Surge. Well, I'll take the second Dig Through Time. Opponent was 1 mana away from casting it. If we had decayed first, they could have cast the Dig Through Time in response. So they're going to loot with Izzet Charm. They need to find a land and a Feldar Guardian to kill here. Oh, no. Feldar Guardian can just come in, flicker a land, and then Sahili can minus. Okay, so they've reassembled their Super Friends team here. But we have a Dig Through Time. We'll see which is more powerful. Gonna get a forest because you sometimes just want a bunch of green sources for Ooze. So there's our third Abrupt Decay. There's also an Oko. Our opponent, they put a card on the bottom. Well, we're certainly taking Oko and Decay. Question is, which one are we destroying? I think maybe we've gotten a little too lucky for too long on the Sahili Rai. Let's just decay that. We have to do it now, of course, because the Teferi Time Raveler static ability, which is very fun and very interactive. So they draw a card with Teferi, which means they can't bounce our clue now. They're casting Granted, the other half of Fave Wishes, which is a little surprising maybe. Kind of strange to see this in their deck. We'll see what they get. Sphinx's Revelation, that's going to be a good one. Going to be, unless we top deck like a Drown in the Lock, it's not going to get us there. It's their last card in hand. Well, we're going to play Jace, going to play Oko, going to make a food. Opponent can rev for 5. 5 cards is certainly a lot of cards. We drew a land, so we'll loot with Jace. Can't flip Jace right here. We hit another land. Yeah. Almost just want to pack it up. It's like, opponent has Teferi. They've got 5 cards in hand. We can't get through the 1/4. Guess let's just go to game 2. Alright, so let's bring in Veil of Summers for their counter spells. Narsets. Pithy Needle to stop. We could name Sahili or Teferi Time Raveler. Seems fine. Dispute seems very good as well. Probably want like maybe not the full 3 Disdainful Strokes, since they are a little lower to the ground than other control decks. Don't want the Fatal Pushes. Oh. I tend to board out the Drown Locks against the Delve spell decks. I cut like 1 Ooze against the control decks. I cut both Kalidases against the control decks. So we still have 3 more cards we'd want to bring in. I can see trimming on Abrupt Decays. I could even see playing no oozes. Like, I guess they have Feldar Guardians. But we'll win the game with a Jace or an Oko. Maybe Decay is just better than Assassin's Trophy. We could just also cut the ops. Have all these really good cards. Seems good. Narset's just good against the control decks generally since it stops their card draw pretty often. It doesn't stop Dig Through Time. You know, they can opt on our turn, but it stops like Teferi's minus a few other things. I'm gonna keep this hand. It needs to hit a land in its top 2 draws, which is usually, as you saw in the first round, a gamble I'm willing to make. And I like that we can Mystical Dispute a search for his Kanta on turn 2. We have like just a ton of really powerful cards. We just need one more land, and then there's our land. The fact that it's a green source means we're probably casting Courser instead of Narset, and we probably would have liked to lead on Narset, but certainly happy to draw a land there. So it looks like no is Kanta. Yeah, now that let's play Jace because we have Veil of Summer available. Although this won't protect it from a red burn spell. I think that it will protect it from like it's a fairy minus. Or is it Charm? Yeah. Because Is It Charm is blue, even though it's the red half of the charm that's doing the burning. Alright, there's It's a Fairy. Hopefully we can find a blue source and find an Abrupt Decay off of Narset or something. Or we can just maybe attack Teferi. You know, this is a 2/4. It's going to be maybe tough for them to get through. They could play a Feldar Guardian and bounce their Teferi. Ooh, that's going to be good. Play Oko, they're going to veto it. I think that's fine. I think we play Oko, they veto. I think we won't run into the Mystical Dispute. We'll just play, I think, a second Courser and hold up Decay / Disdainful Stroke. Although it's pretty unlikely we get to successfully stroke anything since oh, they're just gonna hardcast Dispute. That's fine. Yeah, and now our stroke is live because they can't dispute back. So they have one mystery card, and then they're also gonna get their draw step. Could have maybe attacked for 2 and let Jace take another point of damage. Okay, so they found the combo. They're going to minus on their Feldar Guardian. We're going to let that happen. Feldar Guardian is going to re-enter. They're going to target Saheeli, and then now we will respond to Feldar Guardian's triggered ability. And they can't counter this. They can, so if we attacked the Courser, we'd have lost our Jace. So that's something. We no longer have protection for the combo, and they still have 2 cats, so that's something to be maybe a little worried about. Did hit another blue source, which is good. And then there's a Pithing Needle on top. So why don't we Narset into the Needle and then name Saheeli Rai. Ooh, wow, what 4 really good choices. I'm just gonna get the Needle so we don't have to hold up mana for the rest of our lives. And then we can maybe resolve an Oko too. If they have it, if their last card is Mystical Dispute, then that's fine. Can probably just steal a Feldar Guardian next turn. Something I didn't talk about in the deck tech, but it's kind of nice if your opponent has a creature that has more than 3 power, and you have an Oko with the -5 ability, and you have a Jace Telepath Unbound, you can give it -2/-0, and then you can -5 and steal the creature with higher power than 3. So yeah, their last card was is a charm, and then they top deck the land, which is probably game over for them. Just gonna steal a Guardian here. Plus Jace on their last Guardian. Minus Narset. Get a dig through time. Play a Fable Pat. Yeah, the engines are churning. The engines are churning. Don't think that we can lose now. They sack their food token. Man, what a crazy game. We still have game 3 to play in this match. We'll see if we want to sideboard any differently. I guess if they could draw a dig through time. We have a disdainful stroke, but if they can resolve a dig through time, that would be how they could get through this. So I'm gonna leave 3 mana up so we can have stroke plus Veil of Summer up, so we'll exile 1 card from the graveyard. And I don't really want Mystical Dispute at this point in the game. I suppose we'll take Abrupt Decay, and doesn't matter a ton. Thoughtseize. Another Pithy Needle on top. Probably gonna name Teferi Time Raveler with that. Let's go ahead and Thoughtseize. See if their last card is like a Dig Through Time counterspell. Opponent concedes. We will go to game number 3. Like, it's possible we want Assassin's Trophy because it actually kills the Guardian, but I think they can use their lands really well, and Abrupt Decay stops the combo, but uncounterably. Noxious Grasp kills Teferi and Feldar Guardian. We have so many good answers, but it's just unclear what the right split is. Like, you know, a Drown in the Lock would have been great all game, but it's bad against Dig Through Time. I think Scavenging Ooze is kind of jumping out to me as just like the worst card in the deck post board. Like we have Oko will win a game. We have 4 Okos. Jace the Rinse Prodigy can win a game. I think we can be like just lighter on win conditions. So knowing that, you know, we could bring in ops and smooth out our draws, I kind of like that idea. I think we still want 2 strokes, even if they don't have a ton. It stops Guardian and Dig Through Time. You know, this is still a new format, and figuring out how to sideboard is tough. We'll bring in a Noxious Grasp and the Assassin's Trophy. Just be like so high on answers, because it does kind of feel like we are the control deck in this matchup. They have a very powerful combo that we need to interact with them and stop them from getting. I'm going to keep this land on the draw. We don't have blue mana, but we do have Thoughtseize, and if we like miss our second, if we don't hit a blue land in the top 2 draws, if we hit it on the 3rd draw, we can go Jace plus Veil of Summer. So I think this is a keep. Alright, so our opponent has a Teferi Time Raveler, Search for his Kanta, Opt, Dig Through Time, and Feldar Guardian. I think we'll take the Teferi Time Raveler. Opponent's hand is very good. We can decay the Search for his Kanta. They don't have an answer to Jace, so if we find a blue source, I'll probably just slam a Jace. They played a Port Town, so Pithy Needle is interesting. Alright, well, we'll just decay the Search. There's the Steam Vents. They're shocking. And we, missed on land drops in 3 draw steps, and that will certainly happen sometime. We can get a Pithy Needle down. We can fight over it with Veil of Summer, maybe? No. Well, name Saheeli Rai. We've lost a couple games where we've drawn awkwardly already this league, and I don't know if we can do it a 3rd time. Be pretty sick if we could. I think, so I will just cycle Veil of Summer if I'm given the option at this point. And 4 draws, no lands. Pretty unlucky. Now our opponent has Dig Through Time mana available. Can't even draw any card to stop it. Okay, well maybe they counter this and then we Veil of Summer and hit a land. They may just dig through time in response and we'll see what they get. We know they have Dig, Feldar Guardian, and 2 mystery cards. If they dig through time in response, we do get to cycle Veil of Summer and hope to hit a land on the sixth draw step of the game. I think you're supposed to keep hands like this, and sometimes they'll pan out and sometimes they won't. They've already panned out twice. Twice this league. It'll be fine if it doesn't work this time. You do get to resolve the Thoughtseize. They have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, Saheeli Rai, which is Pithing Needled. They have Detention Sphere for the Needle. So, man, this is tough because if we take the Teferi and they try to Detention Sphere the Pithing Needle, then they can just Izzet Charm and counter the Veil of Summer. We have to take the Teferi. And we have to hit a land drop here. We did hit a land drop, okay. So now we need to find a way to stop the combo. It's rough because we need like lands and a way to stop the combo. Assuming, this is assuming that they go Detention Sphere here. Man, if only they didn't have that Izzet Charm. So we could like draw our second Pithing Needle here. We could draw Abrupt Decay. Draw Assassin's Trophy. Do we want to trophy the Detention Sphere or do we want to trophy the Saheeli? I think I kind of want to trophy the Sphere. They can get rid of Sphere or Needle with 3 mana Teferi, I guess. How crazy! We've won some crazy matches, or crazy games, I should say, already so far this league. It would be absolutely nuts if we won this one too, where we missed like 3 land drops in the first 6 turns. They have Feldar Guardian, Izzet Charm, and a mystery card. They play the Guardian. They untap Glacial Fortress. Well, I'm just going to use most of my mana. They're going to counter this with Izzet Charm, I imagine, but we're just going to start trading cards for cards. We are dead to a Teferi. We're dead to another Detention Sphere. Not dead to Sulfur Falls. Still missing land drops. Okay, I'm gonna play an Oko here. Plus Oko. If our opponent draws another land here, I think we're actually like in okay shape. No, we did. We'll make sure that they see the line. Yeah. Rough stuff. I think we got pretty unlucky that game, but we also got very lucky in game number 2 and in game number 3 in match 1. So with that, we will be back for the 3rd match of this league. Alright, so we are on the play for the 3rd match of this league. Mana base has not been cooperating a ton so far. Gotta play like Cemetery tapped. I guess we'll just go. This is awkward. This is certainly awkward. I'm gonna keep this hand. The question is, do we lead on Fable Passage for Swamp, and then we can go like Thoughtseize, or Thoughteize Push and hope to draw another green source, or do we play this tapped and then see what we need to fetch? I think we'll see what we need to fetch with Fabled Passage. I think our mana requirements are so convoluted that it is better to play the Cemetery here. They, once upon a time on our turn, to find a forest, I think it's usually incorrect to once upon a time on your opponent's turn, since before you take a draw step, since you could maybe draw the forest that you need to find here, and end up wanting to take something different. I think I would like to take the Oath of Nissa over the Once Upon a Time. This puts 1 devotion into play. This costs 2 mana, although they do get to look at more cards. But Oath of Nissa can find Planeswalkers, and it does look like our opponent's playing Planeswalkers. So I'll take the Oath, and then Fatal Push the Fatal Push the Elvish Mystic. Yeah, so if our opponent had drawn 1 more card there, if they'd gone to their draw step, then they would have been able to potentially see 1 more card and not have to take a forest off their Once Upon a Time. And I'll take the Karn here. Kind of weird to see Karn in Pioneer. I don't really feel like the card is great, but it seems fine. Like, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to get with it. So, second main phase, cast Once Upon a Time. Also kind of bad sequencing, because now they revealed Elvish Mystic, and they probably would have liked to attack with this one, but they didn't. They realized they hadn't cast the Once Upon a Time, and they weren't sure if they were going to need the mana for Mystic. So play Courser of Krufix. As far as we know, our opponent doesn't have any gas, but they've seen a couple draw steps, and they've cast an Oath of Nissa now. Revealing a Sylvan Caryatid. Opponent's finding all mana, and we took their 1 payoff. Kind of unlucky that they've cast multiple Once Upon a Times and not found action. But whatever. Missing more land drops, which is the theme of this league. I guess we attack with our coursers. Still missing land drops. If we could trophy our own land, I would, but you can only trophy permanents your opponents control. We do have trophy up here, so if they play something big, we can kill it. If we find a blue source, Drown's going to be good. Our opponent's flooding out a lot, so I do think we're certainly ahead this game, for whatever that's worth. Man, certainly you feel it a little bit more when you miss land drop. They didn't block with Caryatid. When you miss land drops in back-to-back games like this, where you miss them like 4 turns in a row. But that's just going to happen in Magic, at least in formats without Ponder and Brainstorm. And Wrenn and 6. They have all the mana they could ever want. We finally hit a land drop. Well, let's play one of these blue spells, shall we? And I think that usually the blue spell you want to play is Oko. Okos are a lot like Dothraki. They're pretty deadly on an open field or a controlled field like this. Alright, so they found a big mana payoff. Is it going to be vulnerable to Assassin's Trophy is the question. How are they tapping this much mana? Like, this is, if they're using their Nykthos, that's going to tap for 5, so, 3, 5. They're tapping like 11 mana right now, so this has to be an X spell. If it's Finale of... What is the green finale called? Is it Finale of Devastation? I think it is, and I always thought it was weird that they called that one Devastation. It didn't feel like a very green name to me. Walking Ballista. It is an X spell, and it will die to a removal spell in our hand. They can trade it for an Oko or a Courser. Looks like they're just going to trade it for Oko, so... When your 3-drop, makes a food and trades for your opponent's 12-drop, I think that's a pretty good card. We just have another one. Cool. So let's play Oko and hold up Drown / Decay / Trophy. Could also play a Jace, but I think it's gonna be good to hold up Drown. Like we can drown a 6-drop here. We can start stealing elves if we want to. Maybe just start making elks, but I would like the ability to steal a creature next turn if they play like a Courser of Krufix of their own. Alright, they found another big thing, and we can drown that. So again, we saw the floor of Drown in the Loch earlier this league, and now we're seeing the ceiling. But reading Drown in the Loch. Let's play Fabled Passage off the top. Fabled Passage plays very nicely with Coursers. I think I'd like to just start off with a Dig Through Time. I'm going to go ahead and Fabled Passage first. Oh, we already have our basic island in play, that's right. Still going to just lead on Dig Through Time. I liked shuffling there. Oh, opponent conceded. I like shuffling there because we knew the top card of our library was bad, and maybe we'd want to shuffle into something a little bit better. This is a matchup that I think is going to be favorable for us. Let's bring in the Grasps. Let's bring in the Strokes since they're trying to play Ugins and big Walking Ballistas and the likes. I think the Drowns are probably a little too slow in this matchup. I think I like the trophies. The Decay seems fine. Seems fine. I can see trimming on Decays. Like we have our 4 pushes and 3 Decays to kill the elves, and we may struggle to kill other things, especially since they're playing Sylvan Caryatids. Ooze seems like it'll be good in this matchup. I think it'll be really big, really quick. You can see trimming a Courser. You can see these getting outclassed by big green creatures. This looks good to me. If we see like they have like a ton of Ugins, the Ineffables, we may bring in Pithing Needle. We can also needle Walking Ballista. But like Walking Ballista I don't think is even that good against us. So I think for now I'm going to leave the Pithing Needles in the sideboard and then maybe bring them in for game 3 if we see a little bit more of our opponent's deck. I'm going to keep this. A little awkward that we want a Fabled Passage for a swamp, and then that won't let our Hinterland Harbor come into play untapped. I guess we can go Swamp Island, Jace on 2. Then our Thoughtseize gets cast really off curve. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how our opponent plays, and then we'll figure out how we're sequencing this. Opponent's mulliganed into 5, so they've certainly got the bad end of the variant stick this match. Kind of nice to play a somewhat quicker match after 2 really long ones in the first 2. I guess the mono blue one wasn't that bad. So they mulligan to 5, then went Leyline, Elvish Mystic, which is certainly a very powerful start. We're going to Fabled Passage for a swamp. It's a little awkward that we can't decay this Elvish Mystic on turn 2. Like when your opponent plays Leyline, Elvish Mystic, you're trying to, I think, kill their accelerants as quickly as possible, since these are, soul rings. But opponent has 1 card in hand. I guess we're just going to go for the Thoughtseize and then play Hinterland Harbor tapped, and then maybe start decaying their creatures. Stroke is not bad. Hornet Queen, cool. They could have cast that next turn if they had found a land. Leyline of Abundance in a format with 8 1-mana accelerants seems pretty decent to me. They can cast a 4-mana creature if they find it off Once Upon a Time. They just find another Llanowar Elves, which will, you know, enable them to cast whatever they find, of course. I think that I would like to play Jace, because I would like to be able to decay plus Disdainful Stroke next turn, if possible. We're just going to hope our opponent bricks for one more turn. They certainly have more bricks in their deck than they have big payoffs. So that comes into play untapped. We will have decay plus stroke up. I think that I'm going to just loot now. So that way we just get an additional loot out of Jace. Sorry about the dogs barking outside. Got some bad dogs out there. They can activate Leyline of Abundance if they want. They have to do it now. And that's going to be okay if that's how they're spending their time. We will kill all these elves, I think, eventually. Okay, so we have Disdainful Stroke up. If they find, you know, 6 or 7 mana spell to play. Notably, they didn't play their last card in hand. Another Soul Ring. They can't activate Leyline of Abundance? No, yeah, they can't. This is an interesting spot. We could Downfall plus Decay these two creatures, and then Jace survives, which sounds kind of nice. We could just Downfall plus hold up Disdainful Stroke and then like block and flip Jace, and we can also Dig Through Time. That sounds kind of good to me. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. So I'm gonna get a. We need a. I think we want to get a swamp. We can get forest. We can get forest, and that way we have, you know, double green for Ooze and Courser. And we don't need triple black. I was thinking that we'd need triple black if we wanted to Downfall plus Decay, but we're planning on Downfall plus Hold Up Stroke / Dig Through Time, and we can also block with Jace and flip Jace. So we'll get the forest, tapping these. Oh, tap the Catacomb for blue on accident. Downfall. Alright, they got us with Veil of Summer as their last card. Veil of Summer is certainly very good against this deck. Looks like they found a big thing to play. Yeah, certainly gonna not let that resolve. And so here's hopefully the last card is another Veil of Summer. That would be gross. Cool. So here's going to be a sequencing thing that I think some people might not be used to, since Jace Fringe Prodigy hasn't seen a lot of play in the last couple years, is when you have the ability to flip it on your opponent's instep, you should wait until your turn just so you have one more card to loot away, because it's going to transform anyways. So you might as well see the most cards when you activate Jace. So this was good. Let's start off with Dig Through Time. But we're gonna kill most of our opponent's creatures here. So there's another Fatal Push. We could take this Fatal Push, take an Abrupt Decay. Let's go push, use the mana on Decay. It's a little slightly more mana efficient than push, and then shrink the Elvish Mystic. And now they went from having a million mana to having 5 mana. Or I guess 9 mana to 5 mana. Right, there's a car in the Great Crater. It can grab a Pithing Needle maybe and needle our Jace. That's probably what we'll see here. Yes. We can turn the needle into an Elk if we want to. And then push the Elvish Mystic, push the Elk. Oh, we just drew another Fatal Push. Yeah, I think I'm in for this. We'll use the Jace minus on one of the pushes, but this, our opponent can, Karn for something. This isn't Modern where they have, a lot of really, really powerful things to tutor for. They're kind of limited in what they can get. If they get another Needle or a Sorcerer's Spyglass for Oko, we can flashback Abrupt Decay. And if they get one for Jace, we just Elk it and Fatal Push it. So, feeling pretty good. Opponent did, of course, mulligan to 5 this game. Opponent's probably looking at their sideboard, trying to see what they can grab with Karn. Trying to think what else they could get with Karn the Great Creator here. Nothing is really jumping out to me as anything that would blow us out in this spot. I imagine that they're going to go for a Needle on Oko. They got Grafdigger's Cage, which is kind of like the same thing as a Needle on Jace, and they're going to Burning Tree Emissary into Cage. Sure. No big deal. You could just kind of decay that at our leisure. So we'll plus Jace on Burning Tree Emissary, just make a food token. No real reason to do anything just yet. Ooh, I was thinking that maybe Leyline of Abundance gave you an extra mana when you cast a Burning Tree Emissary, but it says whenever a creature taps for mana, not whenever a creature generates mana. That would have been a really cool combo. If you got an extra green off Burning Tree Emissary with Leyline. Okay, that's a good point. Karn can kill food tokens. Something I kind of forgot about. But here we're just going to go ahead and decay the Cage, push the Burning Tree Emissary, and now we can flashback Hero's Downfall on Karn. And we have an active Oko, and they have a Leyline, but the Leyline's not going to do anything because we can kill basically any creature that would benefit from Leyline. Super duper ahead. I'll play out the land because of Dig Through Time. Not that it's very likely we want to Dig Through Time into land plus threat, but it is possible. Anything can happen. There's another Karn. That was good for them. I mean, this isn't again Modern where they can Myconsith Lattice us out of the game. This is a pretty fair one. They've already gotten a Cage and a Needle. Who knows how many more cards in their sideboard are dedicated to Karn. They can't... I guess the Immortal Sun is something they could find. They could just kill our food token and then get something next turn. They decide that they don't want to play anymore, which is honestly a little disappointing. But we will be back for the 4th match of this league in a second. Gonna keep this hand on the draw, playing against a mono white humans deck maybe. This is something that I haven't played against, but I've seen a few deck lists popping around. Maybe not humans as much as white weenie. Looks like probably humans. The Thalia's Lieutenant. These decks have seemed good. They've seemed kind of budget friendly too. You know, being the 4 Fatal Push, 4 Abrupt Decay deck, I think that we're going to be just fine. I'm going to play Jace here. We're going to take a couple points. Hopefully there's not a second Thalia's Lieutenant, but you know, we'll probably take 4 here. They could have the Benedict Marshal maybe. Okay, chose Thalia's Lieutenant with Dauntless Bodyguard. That's pretty cool. Seems good. They didn't do anything with their 2 mana there. Let's loot with Jace. Discard Overgrown Tomb. We cast Opt. We'd like to find a second Fatal Push. That would be the best card, of course. And I will go ahead and Fatal Push this Thalia's Lieutenant, although they'll sack their Dauntless Bodyguard. Oh, Brave the Elements. Wow. Well, maybe we just get run over here. I do think this matchup's probably good with Kalidas and Courser of Krufix. Fatal Push, Abrupt Decay all seem very good, but didn't draw any of those cards. If we find an Abrupt Decay or a Fatal Push and we get to kill 2 of their creatures here, we certainly have a decent chance of stabilizing. But we are taking 9, going down to 5. They get to crack their clue. If they have another Brave the Elements, I can't imagine winning. We didn't hit a removal spell there. So I think that we are donezo. So we want these Noxious Grasps for sure. I think we probably just want to cut 2 Thoughtseize for 2 Grasp. That seems good to me. Let's run it like that and go to game 2. If these humans decks / spirit decks become really popular, maybe you want to play Witch's Vengeance. The 3 mana -3/-3 to all creatures of the same name. I kind of feel like that card was printed with Pioneer in mind, but you know, can never be sure. I think goblins, elves, humans, spirits all have a reasonable chance of being viable tribal decks in the format. Maybe vampires too. Like the 3 mana Sorin is really, really good. That card is super duper powerful, but requires a very specific shell to function. I'm going to keep this hand. We have Decay, maybe we opt into another removal spell on turn 3, and then cast it, and then Kalidas seems great against our opponent. Oh, Soldier of the Pantheon. That's one you can't Abrupt Decay. Alright, I'm into it. You can't Oko this, although you probably wouldn't want to. And you can't Teferi Time Raveler it. You can't Izzet Charm. Pretty cool. Soldier of the Pantheon. Awesome. Well, I don't think I really want to decay a 3-but Inspector. I'll decay like another 1-drop if they play one. Missing their second land drop is probably a bummer for them. I'll keep the Noxious Grasp. Although with our opponent stumbling here, I think that I'll probably just not cast these removal spells and then wait until we have Kalitas down, and then that'll win us the game. Maybe if they go Thalia's Lieutenant, I'll just grasp the Soldier, since they did hit their second land drop now. Mardu Woe Reaper. So this when a warrior or where an it or another warrior enters, you can exile a creature from a graveyard and gain a life. That's interesting. I bet if this said human, it would be playable in Modern Humans. Well, most of the ways they could deal with this Kalitas would be enchantment based. And we have two answers to like a Banishing Light or the Convoke Banishing Light. I guess there's only one answer to the Convoke one, but I think that this will dominate the game, and we'll be going to game 3 shortly. Just a dig through time to rub it in, huh? Or we're gonna cast that next turn probably. I'll go ahead and attack here. You know, maybe we can. I guess they could like. Maybe we're opening ourselves up to a Brave the Elements a little too much with this attack. Because they just block with everything and then cast Brave the Elements. We'll see. The fact that they didn't block with everything means they probably just don't have Brave here. If they do, we can respond to it with a Noxious Grasp and keep our Kalitas alive. Yeah, they should have blocked with everything. If they just blocked with everything, then we grasp we can only kill one creature in response, and then they pro black and we lose our Kalitas. So this was a bad attack, but our opponent made a bad block and we didn't get punished for our bad attack. This Brave the Elements card is pretty good. I remember being a major player in Standard. Now I kind of want to just play some White Weenie. Sounds like a lot of fun. Gideon of the Trials. It seems a little worse to me than Gideon Blackblade. Does Gideon Blackblade enter as a human and trigger Thalia's Lieutenant? If anyone knows, hit me up. Well, I'll certainly attack the zombie at Gideon. Kind of was hoping for a block there. Let's cast Dig Through Time instead of Jace. Remember, we only have one basic island, so we can't cast both unless we find an island off Dig Through Time. So there's a Abrupt Decay, there's a Courser Crucifix, there's a Scavenging Ooze. Drown in the Lock seems good too. We'll just take Courser and Decay. And then we can decay the Gideon if we want to. We can decay one of the creatures and then just pressure the Gideon with the zombies. The world is pretty much our oyster. I mean, if they have like 4 Thalia's Lieutenants, that could be a way to get back into this, I guess. So I guess we should have decayed before blocks and then blocked with a zombie token on the other Marty Roll Reaper. Haven't been playing super duper tight this league, sadly. We'll try to tighten up a little bit. I feel like I always play looser when I'm recording. I play looser when I'm streaming than when I am not streaming, and I play even looser when I'm recording, I think. I have a harder time recording than just streaming for whatever reason. Yeah, let's just keep pressuring Gideon with the zombie token. I don't think I want to fire off my Assassin's Trophy yet. Brave the Elements is looking really strong to me. Instant speed, white creatures gain protection from a color. And there are a lot of good White Weenie cards. There's, you know, History of Benalia, although that doesn't play nicely with Thalia's Lieutenant, but there's the Loxodon that convokes. White Weenie's been good a lot of times in Standard, so I think that there's probably a very good White Weenie deck. The Raven Inspector is a great card. You have lots of good 1-drops to choose from. Hero of the Pantheon is one I kind of forgot about, but certainly seems good to me. Well, if our opponent attacks here, they're going to probably lose the game, but they probably just have to attack here and hope our last card isn't a removal spell. I guess if they do have another Brave the Elements, they get a land off the Assassin's Trophy, and they could cast it here. Not that it would be the most impactful thing. Play the land off Courser. Let's just dig through time. I don't want to loot away the Fatal Push. I kind of just want to dig through time into it. It's one of the best cards to find here. So I think we'll just take Fatal Push. Fatal Push. Card is just very good in this format so far. See if this prompts a concession from the opponent. I think that it's likely that it will, although it doesn't. They haven't conceded yet. We'll send 2 zombies at Gideon, 1 at our opponent, and the Courser at our opponent. We will loot Jace end of turn just to clear out this Drowned Catacomb. Okay, Gideon down. Our opponent is a true warrior, still sticking it out after all this. They get a land off their Knight of the White Orchid, which is a strong moral victory for them here. Get your plains, opponent. Their last card is a Dauntless Bodyguard. And they choose Knight of the White Orchid. So we'll get rid of the Catacombs, draw a Watery Grave, loot into Abrupt Decay, discard a Watery Grave, flashback Fatal Push, target Knight of the White Orchid. They'll respond with Dauntless Bodyguard, and then we will respond with Abrupt Decay and attack with everything. And we get to play Fabled Passage off the top. Might as well sack a zombie here. Is that lethal? Yeah, that's exactly lethal. Oh, we didn't get to play our Fabled Passage. Okay. I liked how we've sideboarded. We're going to go ahead and go to... So we're on the draw for Game 3 against White Weenie. It's our 4th match of the league. I do like this hand. We don't have any blue mana, but... we do have, 2 removal spells, like Courser of Crucifix I think is really good in this matchup. Oko seems good as well. I suppose I'm going to Noxious Grasp the Soldier now, just to play around Brave the Elements, potentially. This is not the first time I've had an opponent bring in Deafening Silence against me, and I don't understand it. We play a lot of creatures. We're a lot of our spells are instant speed, so if we have 2 spells we want to play, we can just cast 1 on our turn and then another one on our opponent's turn. I think that this is a bad sideboard card versus this deck, and I would not recommend bringing it in this matchup. I think our opponent is out of action. If this card had been a more impactful spell, maybe this would have been a more competitive game, but I think that this was not a good one to bring in. So that's nice. So we're just going to play Oko, and then, we can't cast another non-creature spell this turn, but we can just, Abrupt Decay their Dauntless Bodyguard on their upkeep. We'll do it on their upkeep to play around Brave the Elements. They do get to gain a life off their Soldier of the Pantheon. That's true. And then we can like maybe, I guess we can steal like their Mardu War Reaper or something with Oko. This game feels just kind of over to me. Kalidas and Corsair seem like they are absolute houses in the matchup. Drown in the Lock will be good off top, so I will play Fabled Passage so we can potentially shuffle the card underneath Drown next turn. And I think I'm gonna just have learned my. I think I've learned my lesson from the Kalidas attack in game 2, where we attacked and they blocked with 2 creatures, and they could have blocked with everything and cast Brave the Elements. So learned my lesson. Let's just send in with the zombie. And if our opponent wants to, go all out and attack the Oko, oh, this is 2 mana to sacrifice opponent. They're trying to sacrifice it with 1. If they want to go all out and attack the Oko, I will just block. And if I'll go to damage before they could potentially Brave the Elements. I think I'd be okay eating 3 creatures and losing the Oko, getting 3 zombies. But then if they cast Brave the Elements, I'll cast the trophy. So now that they've cast the Gideon, there's no need to fear a Brave the Elements. They don't make the attack anyways, but just go ahead and get one of these creatures off the field. We can pressure the Gideon with the zombies and the Mardu War Reaper, and they just can't afford to make a trade since every time they make a trade, we get a zombie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and attack two creatures at Gideon. I guess it'll just be the 2 zombies. I think it's gonna be good to start upgrading these small creatures into 3/3s. Our opponent's deck seems to be bad against Elks. Yeah, I don't like. I mean, our opponent doesn't really have a way to win from here, I don't think. But making trades like this seems bad because every time they make that trade, we get a zombie. I mean, and like, what is their Gideon really doing here? I guess Kalidas is exiling all of our opponent's cards, so we can't even drown anything. Not that that matters a ton. I think that when, like, certainly the Drown in the Locks have a low floor, but I think if Kalidas is just exiling all your opponent's creatures and you can't cast your Drown in the Lock, that's not necessarily a great argument against this card, since if Kalidas is exiling all your opponent's creatures, you're winning that game anyways. It's not like you really needed the Drown to help out here. Well, I'll go ahead and draw that Fatal Push. Oh, I guess we can't cast it this turn because Deafening Silence, which is a thing, I guess. Go ahead and send in the Elks at Gideon. And if they want to keep the Gideon alive at the cost of giving us 2 more zombies, that's totally fine with me. So they decide to lose their Gideon and give us 2 zombies and lose 2 creatures, which does not seem like a very good trade for them. We do know from our first bout, or our first couple matches, our opponent does not concede early, but they've had enough. They've had enough. One reason they may not concede early in the spot like in game 2, they just want to see more of our deck, which is certainly good practice to be in, but not one I usually do. Well, we'll see if we can get another 4-1 here. I 4-1 a lot with this deck. I have 4-1, I believe, 9 times with this deck so far. So we'll see if we can get the 10th one for this recording. See you there. Alright, so we are on the draw for the last match of this league. I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand. Playing against some blue-white deck. And again, I'm going to shock here. May look a little weird, but if we need to Fatal Push, we're going to be very happy that we shocked. And if we don't need to Fatal Push because we're playing against a control deck, then like our life total, losing the 2 life, isn't going to matter all that much. And so now, you know, we got to shock their Battle-Wise Hoplite, and we get to untap with Abrupt Decay up. So if they're trying to protect their threats with Spell Pierce type effects, then opponents. It's gonna run into 2 open mana against the Sultai deck. What a Brave Soul. Well, we'll play an Oko, plus Oko. If they play like another Battle-Wise Hoplite, or you know, a heroic creature with Summoning Sickness, then we can target their creature with the -5. And I'm gonna make another food here, so we have the option to. Do I want a Jace or do I want a Courser? I think I want a Courser. So we have the option to steal a creature next turn. Thoughtseize is probably a card that we do want to draw here. To like get rid of a God's Willing or something like that. Not that I think our opponent probably has God's Willing if they just led on the Obsession like that. But very, very quick game 1. This seems like a matchup that is very favorable for us. We have so much cheap interaction, and that is the counter to our heroic deck. We'll bring in the Noxious Grasps and probably just trim a Courser and an Ooze. That kind of is jumping out to me as what needs trimming. Alright, looks good to me. Let's go ahead and go to game 2. Our opponent's already mulliganed to 6. I'm going to keep this. We're on the draw. We are very likely to hit a second land. And if we do hit a second land, I do think this hand is going to be good. I know I've said that a few times this league, but you know, Magic is, you know, similar. Oh, opponent. I guess I would not board this in just for Leyline of Sanctity. So I would not board in the Leyline of Sanctity just for Thoughtseize, but of course we top deck a Thoughtseize. It doesn't seem very good to me to bring it in just for this card, but you know, opponents made their choices. Don't need to be super duper critical. It is funny that we're criticizing their Leyline and then we immediately draw Thoughtseize. I want to cast an Opt. Certainly going to keep a Woodland Cemetery. I do like drawing Abrupt Decay. So actually, I was planning on playing Jace here with only 1 Decay in hand, but having this one here, I think is going to be good to like just Decay end of turn, and then untap and Decay. I'm gonna do like how we play against Infect in Modern. Just go for the removal spell end of turn, so they don't get the benefit of protecting it with like if they favor the gods, we end up taking more damage. Or sorry, not favor of the gods, God's Willing. Huh, they didn't appear to have one there. And we got very lucky and drew another land. Well, I'm going to go ahead and try to drown this in the lock. They could have a Spell Pierce. Sure. That's fine. They have 2 cards in hand. We have a Decay. Okay, so if they get to find a God's Willing off this Curious Obsession to protect from the Abrupt Decay, we could lose. But if this Abrupt Decay resolves, I think we're going to have a good time. So it looks like they drew this 10th District Legionnaire post-combat, and they didn't find a God's Willing, so we'll just decay that, play a Jace, can decay that next turn after the Jace flip. They have 2 cards in their hand. We'll probably loot away this Thoughtseize since it is dead to the Leyline. Flashback Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay. Did you find a God's Willing? It is rough that our opponent hasn't found the protection spells that line up well against our decays this match. But I do think that it was wrong to bring in Leyline just for Thoughtseize. I think usually you need to be hitting more cards than just the seizes. Like, what happens if I just board out my thought seizes for the next match? So let's play Ooze and Oko. Next turn we can like flashback Jace, or use Jace to flashback Opt, and then flip this Jace and have a fresh Telepath Unbound. But our opponent sees the writing on the wall. We junded them out with Sultai, and we finished 4-1. I 4-1 a ton with this deck. I have a very solid win record, and I think that this deck is great. I'll be playing it in the first ever Pioneer Challenge tomorrow. Very excited to do that. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys are enjoying Pioneer, and I will see you next time. Bye.